Number 15. Rebecca Corium. While working as a crew member on the Disney Wonder, she sent her last Facebook message to her parents on March 21st, 2011, saying she would call the next day. Her mother grew concerned when she never responded, and that night she received a phone call, not from her daughter, but from a Disney official saying her daughter was missing. She was last seen in security camera footage, time-stamped at 5:45 a.m., talking on one of the internal ship phones in a crew area. She appeared distressed, and a man goes up to her and asks if everything is okay. Her mouth is clearly read to be saying, "Yeah, fine," after which she hangs up the phone. Many of her co-workers believe that she went overboard, and the Disney company knows more than it's admitting. Since her disappearance, her credit card has been used and her Facebook password was changed. It still remains a mystery whether she's alive or at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Number 14. Ray Grisar. When the former Penn State football coach Jerry Sandusky was convicted of serial child molestation in 2012, it was disgusting to find out how long he was getting away with this. Well, as far back as 1998, the local district attorney of Center County, Pennsylvania, Ray Grisar, was given evidence of Sandusky's sick crimes but refused to prosecute him. In April 2005, months before announcing he would not run for re-election, Grisar's abandoned car was found near the Susquehanna River. His laptop was found under a bridge nearby, but the hard drive was missing. Months later, it was found near where the laptop was, but it had been so destroyed that a firm that was able to recover data off a hard drive that was involved in the 2003 Space Shuttle Columbia disaster could get zero information off this hard drive. Police eventually revealed that on his home computer they found search phrases in the history like "how to wreck a hard drive" and "water damage to a notebook computer." It is speculated that Grisar had found so much evidence against Sandusky in a new investigation that he either killed himself or went into hiding out of guilt for not prosecuting him in 1998. Number 13. Benjamin Bathurst. During a journey across Germany in 1809, Bathurst was heading to his carriage one night while being immediately followed by his companion, but simply vanished right in front of his colleague. A reward was offered for information to his whereabouts, but this caused hundreds of people to give false information in hopes of getting a share of the money. Due to murder being extremely common at the time, this is the most likely thing to have happened to him. But how do you kill someone when there is someone right behind them without that person noticing? Number 12. Tara Calico. On September 20th, 1988, she left her home to go for a routine bike ride. She informed her mom that if she wasn't home by noon to come pick her up. When she never returned, her mother searched for her along her usual bike route, but couldn't find her, so she contacted the police. Several people say a Ford pickup was following her, but they were never able to locate the truck. They did discover her Sony Walkman along the route, but never found the bike she was riding. Then, in 1989, this photo was found in a convenience store parking lot in Florida. Calico had gone missing in New Mexico. The boy in the photo is still unknown, but the girl is believed to be Calico due to a scar on her leg from a car accident. 2 other photographs have surfaced, but have never been released to the public. Number 11. The MV Joyita. On October 3rd, 1955, this ship left Samoa to travel to the Tokelau Islands. It was supposed to make it there in 2 days, but when it was long overdue, a search and rescue mission was launched, but they had no luck in finding the ship. 5 weeks later, it was spotted partially submerged over 600 miles away from its intended course. There were no trace of passengers or the crew, and 4 tons of cargo was missing. Inside the ship, they had found a radio set to the International Distress Channel, but a wiring problem meant it only had a reach of about 2 miles. An engine completely covered in mattresses, and a doctor's bag that contained bloody bandages. Additionally, all of the clocks were frozen at 10:25 and every lifeboat was gone. What's strange about this was lifeboats are designed to be easy to spot for rescue, and not a trace of any of them has ever been found. Number 10. Harold Holt. In 1967, Australia's Prime Minister literally vanished. Holt had decided to go for a swim at Cheviot Beach and disappeared. The search for him escalated into one of the biggest search operations in Australian history. They never recovered his body, and he was eventually declared dead. The whole event has led to many conspiracy theories, like a Soviet assassination, as well as being kidnapped by a Chinese submarine. He had only been Prime Minister for 22 months when he disappeared. Number 9. William Morgan. This man made a very powerful enemy after announcing his intention to write a book exposing all of the practices of the Freemasons. 14 US presidents have been members of this fraternity, 2 of which were assassinated. Morgan was arrested on probably fabricated charges of not repaying a loan and stealing a shirt and tie. He was bailed out and boarded a carriage that arrived in Fort Niagara the next day. Morgan never made it though, and was never seen again. Even the president at the time, John Quincy Adams, blamed the Freemasons for his disappearance, but nothing was ever proven. The Freemasons responded to all accusations by saying they had paid Morgan $500 to leave the country, claiming he was still alive. His body was never discovered regardless, so we'll never know what actually happened to him. Number 8. Martha Wright. Her and her husband Jackson were riding through the Lincoln Tunnel in New York City when they pulled over to the far side of the tunnel to wipe condensation off the windshield. Jackson wiped off the front as Martha wiped off the rear window. He then looked back and his wife was gone. Jackson saw nothing suspicious in those few seconds, like cars stopping nearby or passing pedestrians, and it would be impossible for her to run out of sight in that little time. The police couldn't find any evidence of her disappearance either. Martha had simply vanished. Number 7. Jimmy Hoffa. As the leader of the labor union, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, he had to both fight for the rights of truckers and appease the mafia who offered protection in return for funds from his organization. Hoffa was even imprisoned for jury tampering and bribery, but was pardoned by President Nixon. Upon his release, tensions grew with the mafia as he tried to regain control of Teamsters. He disappeared from a parking lot of a restaurant where he was to meet 2 mafia leaders. Both claimed they had never scheduled a meeting with him. All they could find was his car, unlocked in the parking lot. Years of searching went on as law enforcement groups, including the FBI, tried to find him, but had disappeared without a trace. There were many rumors as to what happened to him, one of the most famous being that he is buried under the end zone at Giants Stadium in New Jersey. Number 6. Teresa Butler. On the morning of January 25th, 2006, Teresa Butler's husband returned home from his night shift to find his 2 kids home alone because his wife was nowhere to be found. Her Jeep was still in the driveway. There were no signs of forced entry, and her kids had no idea what happened to her. Her purse and cell phone were missing, as well as a lot of valuables, like a PlayStation, video camera, and car stereo. Her wedding rings and jacket were still there though. Police discovered that she had made 2 phone calls from 2 different towns. The first number never answered, and the second one did, but heard nothing on the line. No trace of Butler after this has ever been found. Number 5. Lost Colony of Roanoke. John White led 115 colonists to establish a colony on the coast of what is now North Carolina. After efforts by White to make peace with the tribes he previously fought failed miserably, one of the colonists was killed by a native while searching alone for crabs. This led the colonists to persuade White to return to England for help. He departed in late 1587, and due to England's war with Spain, he was unable to return as soon as he expected due to every English ship joining the war. He was finally able to return to his colony in 1590 to discover that nothing was there. He could not find a single trace of any of the colonists, and there were no signs of a struggle or battle. They discovered the word Croatoan carved into a fence post, as well as crow carved into a nearby tree. The Croatoans were a nearby tribe. All the houses were dismantled, meaning they did not leave in a hurry. White had instructed the colonists to carve a cross on a nearby tree if their disappearance had been forced. Since there was no cross, he felt like they must have left freely. He thought they could be on a nearby island, but due to a massive storm forming, they were forced to leave the next day. Number 4. Bela Kiss. After being conscripted due to World War I, he left his home along with his collection of metal drums, which he had told the town police were full of gasoline. During the war, the town police received a call from a man who had discovered 7 metal drums. The constable had remembered about Kiss's collection of them and sent soldiers to investigate. When trying to open the drums, a suspicious odor was noted. Inside, they discovered the body of a strangled woman. Each drum had the same thing inside too. That day, they discovered 24 bodies. The military was informed to arrest him immediately, but that turned out to be extremely difficult due to him having such a common name. Kiss's housekeeper also told police about a secret room that she was not allowed to enter. Inside, they found many books about poisons and strangulation. In 1916, investigators traced Kiss to a Serbian hospital, but Kiss had placed the body of a dead soldier in his bed and escaped. 4 years later, there were reports of a man who matched Kiss's description and was calling himself Hoffman, which was an alias Kiss was known to use. He had even bragged to a fellow soldier about how good he was at strangling. He had disappeared again before police could capture him. Finally, in 1932, there were rumors that Kiss was in New York City working as a janitor. When police went to question the janitor, he had simply vanished. Number 3. The McStay family. On February 4th, 2010, the McStay's family car was recorded leaving their home by a neighbor's security system. They would never return home again. A few days after the family's disappearance, the police were notified, and upon searching the home, they found no signs of foul play, but found indications of a quick departure due to a carton of raw eggs on the counter and 2 full bowls of popcorn on their couch. Their SUV was later found near the Mexican border, but had no signs of forced entry. Surveillance video allegedly captured them crossing the border into Mexico, but the quality was too poor to make a positive identification. Investigators also discovered searches for Spanish lessons and a search for what documents do children need for traveling to Mexico on the family's home computer. It was assumed that they had decided to start a new life in Mexico for some reason, even though they hadn't withdrawn any money from their bank account, which contained over $100,000. Then, 3 years later, a biker spotted some bones near Victorville, California, which is even further away from the Mexican border than the McStay's home. Authority verified the bones as the McStays and determined they had been murdered. The now murder case remains unsolved. Number 2. Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. It's easily one of the most baffling mysteries ever. How did a commercial airplane full of people just vanish? On March 8, 2014, it disappeared while traveling from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia to Beijing Capital International Airport in China. A few things about the disappearance have been confirmed. The plane's transponder was manually turned off and the flight changed paths sharply, but no distress signals were ever made by the pilots and no cell phone calls were ever made by scared passengers. Not a single shred of wreckage from the plane has ever been found. Also, the indestructible black box has never been located. This should be impossible because it will continue to send information for 30 days after a crash or explosion, so how it's gone completely missing is another baffling mystery. Number 1. Frederick Valentich. This Australian pilot was on a routine training flight in 1978 when he radioed Melbourne Flight Service to report an unidentified aircraft following him at 4,500 feet, and he was told that there was no known aircrafts flying at that level. Valentage described it as a large unknown aircraft that was illuminated by 4 bright lights moving at a high speed. Shortly after, he said it was orbiting above him and that it had a shiny metal surface and was shining a green light. He then reported he was having engine problems and was asked again to identify the aircraft. He then said it isn't an aircraft when his transmission was overpowered by a metallic scraping noise and all contact was lost. The search for him covered over 1,000 square miles, but they still found nothing. Got an idea for a top 15 list? Be sure to leave it in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe for future videos. Thanks for watching.